So, you got a boyfriend?
Why? You want to ask me out on a date?
Maybe. Do you have a boyfriend?
No.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
What did you say?
Welcome to Three Films and a Podcast, the show where destiny brought together three friends to enhance each other's cinematic journey by watching three new movies in a series of themed rounds. There is no claim of ownership on any film footage used in this episode, as all film footage is owned in its entirety by the copyright holders. And just like every car in Too Fast, Too Furious, this podcast contains spoilers. Enjoy! Hello and welcome to Season 2 of Three Films and a Podcast, the show where three friends challenge each other to broaden their cinematic horizon through a unique series of themed rounds. My name is Ben Lawhorn, and I'm coming to you from Salt Lake City, Utah, and as always, I am joined by Tyler Beck up in Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everybody. No matter what I say tonight, whatever opinion I might have about this movie that you may or may not love, just don't kill me. I really want to be in the sequel, okay?
And Matt Weiler down in Pleasant Grove.
Hello.
Ooh.
I thought maybe you do the was up like in the Scary Movie.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Damn. You know what's funny? I actually, while I was watching Scream, I in my head was calling it Scary Movie. It was like for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Not that I was actually doing this, but I was like, I'm watching Scary Movie. But I was like, oh, wait, no, this is Scream. What is what? What's happening? Where am I?
Well, I mean, fun fact, I guess that was the working title while they were shooting.
Oh, really?
All the clapperboard said Scary Movie on it. That's what they originally were going to call it. So
is that where, and maybe this is stepping on a later segment, but is that where the Scary Movie came from?
I assume so. I have not looked into it, but it seemed like that would make sense.
It'd be an interesting bit of trivia that we could work into the conversation later.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
The Family Guy Star Wars movies, they called it Blue Harvest, which I think was what the working title was for Star Wars. So
I didn't know that.
Another nod to that.
Nice.
Anyways, welcome to the show. For those of you that are new, welcome to the movie club. For those of you who are returning, welcome to the movie club.
Hey.
Welcome back. I'm glad you're here.
Either way, you're welcome.
Yeah. What began as a movie club between the three of us and just an ever growing group text has evolved into this podcast that you're listening to or watching right now. If you would like to follow us, we are everywhere on social media at 3filmspod, and you can find everything else at our website, 3filmspod.com. We have merch, we have a Patreon, and we have a website facelift coming up. Tyler is hard at work on this, and it is awesome getting to see some of the behind the scenes stuff already. So the movie club's going to come to fruition. It's going to be exciting.
Prayers up. We actually get that finished someday.
Yeah, this is going to be so cool.
Yeah, thoughts and prayers appreciated.
Oh, please like and subscribe. Thoughts and prayers, all that stuff.
These trying times.
One like is 1 hour worked on the website. So,
like if you prayed for us.
Yeah, please like if you prayed. Speaking of the movie club, we have, arguably one of the first members of the movie club joining us tonight. Our first 5-timer on the pod.
That's right.
And the watch party MVP and the MVP of my heart, Ashley Hutchins, is here.
Hi.
Thanks for coming.
Hello.
Thanks for having me. Congrats on season 2, guys. You got renewed.
We got renewed. We got picked up. I
did it.
was surprised. We're on Peacock now. We're not on NBC anymore. But
It was contentious.
Yeah.
It was very contentious, but yeah, we
figured it out, which is good.
They wanted us to do some stuff that we weren't okay with. They wanted us to sell out a little too hard. We stuck to our guns.
Yeah.
We protected our integrity.
We walked away from so much money.
So much money.
Yeah. It was ridiculous. But yeah, season 2 kicked off. Yeah. This is exciting. Thank everyone for the support and everything for the past season. I don't know. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think we're excited with where this has gone already in a year, and what's down the road. This is really cool. We asked for people's feedback, and we're gonna kind of take some of that into consideration and make some minor tweaks here and there for season 2 to our format and stuff. But overall, this is going to be the same stuff you've been listening to for all season 1, and we're just kind of streamlining it a little bit and I'm excited for what's to come. This is gonna be cool.
We did all those posts on Instagram looking for feedback and stuff, but we're always looking for ways to improve. We're always trying to think of better ways to present this content and to make it engaging and fun to listen to and to watch. So anytime you have suggestions, ideas, thoughts, critiques, please send them our way. We're very receptive to that sort of stuff, and we're just trying to be the best we can be.
Send it specifically to Matt though if it's a complaint.
Yep.
He
Yeah,
handles
thanks.
all of our complaints.
It's complaint resolution.
Yep. If you
Matt.
called in angrily, you talk to me.
That's
You
it.
know.
We have it separated if it's a good call or a bad call. It's like, oh, send this to Matt. I'm not taking this. Yeah, and we're kicking off season 2 with, I mean, a pretty exciting movie. This is, if everything goes according to plan, the first Tuesday in October. So we thought, let's get started on our Halloween movies. And we threw the vote out there to the movie club to find out what people wanted to watch after we picked our 4 kind of finalists. And we sent it out there, some of the classics. We had some really good stuff. We had Halloween, Carrie. What was the other? Oh, Practical Magic.
Yeah.
Which
Ooh,
was good.
Sandra Bullock.
And then the winner, we're watching Scream, Wes Craven's Scream tonight. Rumor has it you're a bit of a fan of the movie.
Oh, snap. You know what? I just realized this too. This is like, I mean, for me personally, I'm only going to speak for me personally here. I like that this happened because like it's pretty well documented on the show. And you guys know I don't love horror films. I don't love scary movies like this. But like the whole point of Movie Club and the whole point of this podcast was to explore stuff and like challenge myself to watch stuff. So it's actually pretty poetic and pretty fitting that this is the movie we're kicking off the next season with, because it's been so much fun doing this and I've been exposed to so much good stuff. So occasionally to be exposed to something I don't love is good and it's cool, you know?
It's funny hearing you talk about, like, I mean, from season 1 to season 2. I mean, season 1, our first round was your pick. It was Spike Lee. So we kicked off season 1 with everything you wanted to watch. And now we're kicking off season 2. There's a bunch of horror movies.
Fair.
So
it's only fair.
Oh yeah, you thought this was scary, Ty. Wait till you see Ernest Scared Stupid.
Oh no.
Sad I'm gonna miss it, but I'll watch it. Trust me. Yeah, I'm excited that Scream won. We put some great stuff out there. Matt called for a recount, you know, because he really is pulling for Practical Magic. So we had to pull in
Nicole
all of our
Kidman. Jeez.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got that
Stockard
this kiss
Channing,
scene. Yeah. Oh, geez.
Dan Weiss.
But our winner was Scream. Probably one of the 2 biggest things my first Crushmore Neve Campbell's ever starred in. I'm excited to get talking about this, but let's have Ashley kick it off with what's your experience with this movie? Tell us what your thoughts are.
Well, it's one of the first, like, I would say scary movies I was allowed to watch. My mom rented it and she watched it first by herself to kind of vet it, you know?
Yeah.
And once she watched it, she was like, okay, I guess you can see it. I was 11 or 12, I think, when it came out. So it was perfect age, in my opinion. And yeah, she let me and my brother watch it and we loved it. We loved it. I didn't want
says a lot. 11-year-olds loving it. No, it's funny. Like this came out right around the same time for me, you know, like it was right in my wheelhouse when I was starting to like explore movies like this. I didn't know that I hated scary movies yet. I guess I shouldn't say hate. I didn't know that they weren't my preference yet. I just knew that what I'm saying is I watched it, you know what I mean? But it's been since then, since I've seen this. And the only thing I remember from watching it was the garage door scene. And then obviously the opening scene. So yeah, like it hadn't stuck with me that well. I remember it being really scary. I didn't have as much of a reaction to it this time. But yeah, it was like, it came out for us, like right when it was like the age where we would start to explore stuff like this. And it was like, you know, it became a pop culture icon too. So it was like, it's loomed large in my life, despite having only seen it once and having somewhat little interest in it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we're all part of the same generation technically, but my age trends slightly, you know, younger than your guys'. Just
must be nice.
Wow.
So slightly.
Wow.
Shade.
So I unfortunately, when this came out, I was too young to see it in its initial heyday, but because of it really is like, for an R-rated movie, it's pretty mild, especially for an R-rated horror movie. It tones back like everything that horror movies typically have in them. And so it's a very, as I like to call it, a gateway rated R movie for, a teenager. So when I was a teenager, this was like, it was almost like you had the same cluster of like rated R movies that you'd start off with. And I swear Scream was like one of them. They just pepper in like a few F words, and it's just gory enough to not be PG-13. I think I said on Blade, this is like kind of like a PG-14 movie. Like, it's like just edgy enough to be rated R, but it's almost like they peppered in things just to make it rated R. Yeah. And that was perfect, to kind of delve into that area of movies and feel kind of cool and rebellious.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it that way, but there is like a certain level of restraint this movie has. I mean, the opening scene features a person with their guts spilled out and then a woman filleted hanging from a tree. So like, to say that this movie shows restraint might seem strange, but even in that, it's like a flash of it, kind of like, it's just a flash of it. They don't really get into like, there's no, I mean, there is like the requisite sex scene, but there's no nudity, even though it's referenced and talked about. Mm-hmm. There's not, there is like, harsh language and stuff, but yeah, you're right. It is like, I hadn't really thought about it until you said that. I'm like, yeah, this is pretty tame for a rated R. Mm-hmm. And it does seem like they were trying to push to get to rated R, as opposed to like pulling back to like make it rated R from something worse. But I think I read somewhere that it was going to get an NC-17 rating, but and we'll talk about that later, I guess. But
it just makes me think of that scene with Sydney and Billy in her bedroom, and they're talking about the rating system. Mm-hmm. They're like, he's like, we were on our way to an NC-17, and then it just stopped. And then she's like, oh, when my mom was murdered. But then they talk about it being a PG-13, and it's just like, this movie really is just so aware of itself.
And I wonder, is this like the first meta movie? I'm sure there's other ones, but it's the only one that I can think of that's like goes back to this date that's like meta in that way. We see that all the time in like Community now, or 21 Jump Street did a lot of meta stuff. But as far as I can think of, this is like the first movie, one of the first movies about movies that was like a pop culture, like a popular movie. It wasn't like an artsy sort of thing,
Yeah, I think it is one of the first ones that at least gets the credit of being this kind of meta, and definitely within like the horror genre it does. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's what first like attracted me to it, was it plays a lot of reference to other horror movies. Yeah. I think most notably, like besides the fact that it's directed by Wes Craven, but this opening scene is just really kind of like a condensed version of the beginning of Psycho, spoilers for that for whoever hasn't seen it, but that was like the first movie to kill off the protagonist halfway through. That had never happened before. Like you know who the person you're following is, and you'll follow them to the end. And then Hitchcock is like, all right, we're about a third of the way done. Let's kill this person. And it's like, oh, okay. No one was expecting that at the time. And I think Scream is the best movie to do it since then. And, it's almost kind of by happenstance because of stuff we'll get into with the trivia, but Drew, they only had her for like 4 days. And so like she did this opening scene, and the fact that they kind of like promoted her, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of nuts how that first opening scene started out, but we'll be talking about that plenty, I'm sure. But this movie pulls from a lot of stuff. I mean, Wes Craven, again, also the director of Halloween.
Wrong, sir. Wrong.
And that music even starts playing when she says it's her favorite movie, so it's like
Name the killer in Halloween. No. Come on, it's your favorite scary movie, remember? He had a white mask, he stalked the babysitters. No. Come on, yes you do.
It's super meta inside. Yeah, it is like the high like piano notes as she's talking about it.
That music's so good.
It's it's so like it's like Jaws or anything like that, where it's just so notable. Like right when you hear it, you know exactly what it is. But yeah, when she's answering the trivia, I think about it. When she has to answer that's Michael, that's when it kind of plays. But yeah, I just kind of want to talk about like, I guess the references that it pulled from and kind of how it changed horror after that, you know, or like some of the meta-ness, anything like that you guys want to talk about, like the Scream's influence. I'll throw it to you first.
The standout reference for me is Linda Blair makes a cameo. So it's cool to see her. She's in Fuzz. She's in The Exorcist.
I've seen The Exorcist. I do appreciate that. I have seen a few of the classics. I've seen Exorcist, but I don't remember seeing her in this movie though.
She plays a reporter. So when they kind of like she's hanging out at the high school.
She's the one that bumps into Sydney or whoever, right? I think, or I forget. It's the reporter that bumps into.
Yeah.
I can't remember who. Yeah.
No, I don't have a good answer for this.
Yeah. I'm with you there, Ashley. We've talked about it a bunch already just in this episode, but like, I might be the least qualified person to answer this question. Cause like, I haven't seen Halloween. I've seen Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or whatever. I don't even know what they're called, frankly. You know what I mean? Like I've seen them. I've seen the references. I know what they are, but like, yeah, some of them I just straight up haven't seen. So I'm like, yeah, sure. It says it pulled from stuff. So it probably did. I don't know, you know, but I do think it's interesting. And I do think, I don't necessarily know how it influenced, but this was definitely doing something specific. You know what I mean? Like it was trying to be like, I don't know, goofy and scary at the same time. It felt like,
yeah, like we've already said, like it spends the whole movie basically referencing other horror movies. It's themed inside the movie with horror movies, and so it's very like this is a slasher movie and it's referencing slasher movies, so it's easy to draw, you know, the parallels to other slashers. I think where Scream brings in something unique and where it sort of, well, first of all, I mean, this movie kind of revamped or resurrected the horror genre. It was in something of a, I mean, it basically died. Like it wasn't selling. It was, these horror movies are going like direct to video. So this is like a big, and the approach that they took was they signed on talent that audiences already recognized. So people had to buy into these actors and actresses already before they went to see the movie. But anyways, a few things that I just want to highlight that this movie's that I perceive they introduced was the quintessential Halloween mask in Ghostface.
I do remember that's the first time I saw that mask. I was like, whoa, that thing's creepy. It's really, and
everybody had one.
Everyone had it. My buddy down the street loved wearing it and trying to scare people with it. Like it was definitely a thing. And watching this movie this time, they present it in a way that's a mask you can buy at a Halloween store. And I was like, wait, did this movie make the mask or did the mask make it into the movie? I wasn't quite sure about that.
I think they made it for the movie.
That's what I thought, but I think so. I mean, it's possible for them to create a fake package for a mask in the movie, but I just was like, oh shit, maybe I don't know what was first, you know?
Yeah. So they brought in this mask that has been ubiquitous. We see it every Halloween still. And then it spawned a spoof comedy series that has like 4 movies, you know, the Scary Movie series that you talked about. It spawned copycat movies like for years to come afterwards that are essentially the same, just insert other actors and actors of the time. Yeah. They all have the same cover too. It's just like a lineup of whoever's the hot teen, you know, heartthrobs of the time lined up, black cover, you know, slasher mask behind them. Then it has like spin-off TV shows. It has one that's actually called Scream. I think MTV did it. But my favorite one that kind of came from the same idea is Scream Queens. I don't know if you guys have watched that. I absolutely love it. It's got Jamie Lee Curtis in it.
My girl,
who is the Scream Queen. But yeah, you should watch it this Halloween. It's kind of more of this. It's comedy horror, but more on the comedy side. It's great.
Yeah.
Had to plug it.
It's a Ryan Murphy and Emma Roberts is in it, who coincidentally is in Scream 4.
True.
There's 4 of these things.
Soon to be 5.
TIL. That's crazy. So is this next one? Is it like a remake, like a reboot, like kind of how they did like another Halloween that's named Halloween, but it's not the original one? I don't know.
I think
is it
Neve
continuing
Campbell's in
the
this
story?
one. I think so.
And I thought Courtney Cox was in it too. I only know that because I saw it on
and
IMDb.
David Arquette as well.
Oh, nice.
But just really quickly, a few things that I feel like this introduced that were kind of fresh were just like a whodunit in high school, like this idea that the killer's among you, to friends, the deception of two killers, you know.
Yeah.
Now I had already seen this movie, and so it was kind of obvious this time around, like watching and be like, oh, they're setting this up. Like it's pretty clear who the killers are.
Yes.
But
during that scene, like when we first meet Billy and he climbs into Sydney's window, like there's a cover of Don't Fear the Reaper playing. And it's just like,
You know, I appreciate the romantic gesture.
Hey, about the sex stuff. No, I'm not trying to rush you at all. I was only half serious.
Okay.
like immediately they tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned the music real quick because I forgot to write this anywhere on the document, but like I really liked the score in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because there were like those cool covers like that, and even some of like the more dated music they were obviously trying to shoehorn in to be like relevant with the times, or like what are the kids listening to? They would put in these like shitty pop songs or whatever. But yeah, I just thought like the score of it was really well crafted and stuff like that. Like those covers, I can't remember some of the other songs, but I was like, okay, like I'm digging this.
Yeah, that Nick Cave song, the Red Right Hand.
Yeah,
like that song. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's in every Scream movie after this. Like it's just iconic.
Right, it was really good.
Yeah. Go ahead, Matt.
Sorry. The last thing I want to highlight was compared to other slashers, there's not like this unstoppable force behind the killer. Like I swear those other slashers, like nothing can stop these seemingly invincible beings. Whereas this one, like they're very vulnerable. They're sloppy.
And it's like how did you even kill anyone? Like every time we actually see him try to like kill Neve Campbell, he's like falling all over himself. He looks like drunk. It's like
stop
slapstick.
holding the knife up by your face.
Like,
yeah.
I was
You're
like,
gonna
how
cut
did
yourself.
you manage to accomplish anything? Like, I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like as you're watching the movie, because you're used to like Michael Myers, who's just like impenetrable and just like he's just gonna walk everywhere while you run away, and he's still gonna show up. But you start fighting Ghostface, and like he's clumsy, and he'll like fall over and stuff, and before you get the reveal, it's just that's kind of weird. Like, wait, like this bad person seems more human than normal. Like they're supposed to be like otherworldly, and then you find out like it's just like other high school kids. Like, oh, that makes sense then why like these people could fight back as long as they could, because it wasn't some like 40-year-old like dude out of prison or something like that, just like holding down a high school girl. Like, no, it's Matthew Lillard. So yeah, of course, like Drew Barrymore could probably beat him up, if she. So, but that doesn't. I don't know. It's just an interesting thing about that, I guess, throughout watching the movie the first time. But I do think it opened it up to things becoming more meta, I think, afterwards. And again, this was kind of one of the first, and now we get things like the 21 Jump Street movies, which, are very self-referential, about like the old TV show and how dumb this is that we're rebooting a thing that's been done before, like talking about that in the movie.
We're reviving a canceled undercover police program from the 80s and revamping it for modern times. You see, the guys in charge of this stuff lack creativity and are completely out of ideas. So all they do now is recycle shit from the past and expect us all not to notice.
And even I think kind of close to this one is a Cabin in the Woods, where that's kind of a like meta scary movie. So I think it's one of the best things that it brought about, and it just kind of changed it in that way. And one of the better scenes in here is the whole Jamie Kennedy thing, where it's just they're talking about it. Like here's what you don't do in a movie that we know we're watching right now. It's like, oh, he's saying the rules for himself. Like I don't know if he knows this, but
I think that's where. Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler. I think
my apologies to you.
I got tripped up on this like meta question. I don't know. Sometimes I think people say meta just to sound smart, and they don't really know what it means.
That's what I do.
Literally.
Me too. So
everyone says literally for everything. I'm literally dead.
So
I've literally never said the word meta before. No, it is a weird concept to grasp, but I did like that in those moments, like, you know, if you have sex, you're dead. Like sex I liked that they presented those rules and consistently broke them. I thought that was clever because, you know, she doesn't die. She runs up the stairs like she's not supposed to. And she, whatever, but she's she ends up being the winner. And I thought that was pretty fun. Like, you know, breaking the rules and telling us the rules and telling us that they're breaking them at the same time and actually making it work and make it like be fun and believable in the movie.
And they're not like referencing specific movies generally. Like they mention Halloween, it's playing in the background. But I think a lot of these references are just a generalization and like, tropes and cliches that we saw in like the 70s and 80s.
Right.
Yeah. And I think it's, I mean, honestly, like, when you think of scary movies, there's kind of, I think the three big ones is Halloween, Friday the 13th. And the only one they don't mention in this movie is the one that Wes Craven directed, which is Nightmare on Elm Street. Because I feel like those are kind of the big three of like.
They do reference it.
Do they talk about Nightmare on Elm Street?
They don't talk about it, but like it's like a little wink. There's a guy that is a janitor at the high school.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
That's right.
What's that?
He's wearing the
He's got
sweater.
the sweater outfit.
Yeah, that's true. I guess. Yeah, I was focused more on that first.
Oh wait, was his name Freddy too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Freddy.
Oh, nice. I recognize the costume, but I remember him calling him Freddy. That's funny.
That's I that's true. I did forget about that reference. I was thinking like with the quiz of like what's your favorite movie, who's the killer in Friday the 13th, that kind of a thing. But I think this did a good job of being meta and referencing the genre that it's in and all that kind of stuff and the other things that people recognize. So yeah, and so stuff like that, like the Freddy, the whatever, it's kind of like how we are now with our, you know, Marvel cameos and stuff like that. It's like, I know they're talking about Black Panther. That's cool. Like, you know, it's like, I get that. That's cool. So, you know, I don't know who hasn't heard of Scream and probably has seen it if they wanted to by now, but if you were to sell this movie to somebody, you know, someone who hadn't seen it before, and you just felt like, okay, let me show them one scene just to kind of get them hooked. Let me give them a trailer of this movie, just like a curated trailer for them specifically. What scene or moment or whatever would you show people to get them to watch Scream?
I think for me, the scene that kind of encapsulates the backstory, what's going on, is the bathroom scene with Sydney. And she's eavesdropping on these two bitchy girls who are the perfect mean girls I think I've maybe seen in a movie. They're so good.
And also, what a fun trope. I love that. Like, you overhear them talking in the bathroom. Like, it's like a teen movie staple, and it always works. And it's always, you know, I don't know. I don't mean to step on you too much, but
it's effective.
Yeah.
So they are gossiping and they give like the backstory, sort of Sydney's history with her family, all that drama, what's happening now. And then, you know, there's a scare. They come in the bathroom. You kind of like see their shoes under the stall. I think about it every time, you know, I'm in a public restroom. It's just like, you know. So I think that's a good one to get people on the hook.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to be honest, like, you could probably throw a dart at most scenes. I try not to be spoilery when I answer this question. And the easiest pick is obviously the opening scene. I mean, I meant to talk about this in my overall impressions, but that scene's really good. Like, it's like, to me, in my opinion, it's the best scene of the entire movie. It's the most effective. It's the most scary. But I think I'd actually show them the meta movie watching scene, because I like the idea of like showing people like, hey, this is a movie that's like, that really loves this genre and it understands the rules and it's going to break them and it's going to be fun and it's going to be kind of silly. And it's also kind of like, for me personally, going into this, I was like scared. Like, I was showing you guys in the Slack. I was like, okay, I'm going to watch this thing. Like, God damn it. You know, the things I do for Movie Club. Right. And I was being dramatic, but in all honesty, I was relieved that this movie ended up being more fun than I remembered. Because like I said, all I remembered was like a woman getting crushed in the garage door. And I remember that being really scary when I was 13 years old or whatever, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would show him that, show him like, hey, this movie is fun. It is silly, but it, you know, there's some scary stuff in here.
So when like I said, I think the last time I saw this, I was a teenager, a young teen, probably 12 or 13. And I did not remember that this was like, kind of like, it was very aware of itself and had like funny moments. Like, I had forgotten all of that. To me, to my recollection, it was just like a slasher horror, and it's like it's not terribly scary as far as like horror goes. There's some jump scares, and obviously home intrusions, like pretty scary, but overall, because of the comedy, it's not a very scary movie. And so it took a little bit into the movie for me to get there, to feel like, okay, this is what this movie is. And so if I were to show a scene to someone to sort of set that expectation ahead of time, I would show them the Henry Winkler scene where he's like trying on the mask in the principal's office and like scaring himself. To me, that's just hilarious. And like, that's how I would get somebody in on this, just to kind of set that sort of expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Anytime you got the Fonz, I think it's a good selling point, you know?
Yeah, I was surprised to see him. Every time, like, I didn't, you know, I grew up with Happy Days in a way, like my mom loved that show, but like I didn't put it together that like Henry Winkler was the Fonz or whatever. So as I've like started to see more stuff and learn more about like the history of things, every time I see him now, I get this like retroactive happiness. I'm like, oh shit, he was in this at this time. Like, that's awesome. You know, like it's fun. He's got an interesting career.
Yeah.
I just like you. I'm picturing you now. Anytime Henry Winkler comes on any screen, you're just like, hey, like, all right, Tyler, it's the Fonz.
Nope.
No.
Come on, give me some credit. I'm a little cooler than that.
All right, well, that's what I do in my head. So
Jumping shark here.
It's okay. It's okay to do it in your head. I thought you meant like literally saying out loud.
I think it'd be hilarious if you actually did that.
It's not as cool as you, Tyler.
If you pointed at your TV.
I'm actually going to start doing that now. You've convinced me.
I'm excited. Mine, I mean, it's the scene we've been talking about, but that opening scene is classic for a reason. To me, it's just, I don't know, it's the bait and switch. It's pulling the rug out. Because I mean, Drew Barrymore was on all the posters and stuff like that. Like this was sold as a Drew Barrymore vehicle. And then just like we get, I think 14 minutes of her or something like that.
And during this time, I meant to look this up, but I forgot like what she's in, like a lot of stuff around this time, right? Like this was kind of like prime Barrymore time, I feel like.
Let's see.
Yeah, let's look it up. I think it may have been the beginning of like a comeback.
Okay.
But I can't really remember.
Yeah, I guess, she was in Batman Forever, you know, before this. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, after this, she's in The Wedding Singer. Never Been Kissed is after this, just a few years. Charlie's Angels. Like this, actually, this did kind of start. This was like the beginning of her golden age. And it's kind of perfect because she's in it so little, like it leaves you wanting more, right? Like she had her troubled teenage years that she's coming back from. And it is interesting to think about this as like the jump off point for her renaissance.
And kind of bringing her back from her childhood from doing Firestarter. Like she kind of was horror movie. I don't know if it's royalty, but you know, she was in the genre. Yeah. People knew about her.
Well, she's certainly royalty. She's a Barrymore.
Oh yeah, definitely she is. But yeah, I wonder if it's kind of similar to like Travolta in Pulp Fiction. Like let's bring in a heavy hitter that people know. But this, like, I think, you know, now I'm just picturing my mom and aunt going to see the Drew Barrymore movie Scream. Well, you're gonna love 15 minutes of it, and that's it. We have a new segment that we came up with that I think we're all pretty excited about. You've heard over season 1 multiple times where if either one of the Gyllenhaals has come up, we've talked about, you know, normally it's Jake. That just kind of seems to be the case with the stuff we've watched. And Matt has brought up the point of trying to think about, well, what if this was Maggie instead? Could this be a better movie? And pretty unanimously, it always is. It's always more fun.
And like, that's the thing. It is always more fun. I think we talked about Jarhead at one point. I don't know if it was on the pod or while we were talking before, but I was watching Jarhead and I'm like, does Matt's theory hold up here? And while it certainly changes like the way that you would watch that movie with some of the scenes, like, yeah, it's probably more fun. It's probably better if she's Jake's character. So it's a solid theory. I like it very much.
I wonder what the craziest swap would be, like for their movies. Like if you throw Maggie in Brothers.
Bubble Boy.
Bubble Boy. I don't know. You can play
and just
fine,
call it Bubble Boy, even though it's Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Picturing Natalie Portman leave Maggie Gyllenhaal for Tobey Maguire. No, who is it? Who's the other one in Brothers? Is it Tobey Maguire?
I think it is Tobey Maguire.
Instead of Gyllenhaal.
I mean, imagine if we had Maggie Gyllenhaal and Laura Dern in October Sky.
It'd be pretty good.
You know,
it's a solid one.
Teen Scientist.
I mean, you get women in STEM, you know, it's the early one, October Sky. But yeah, so anyways, the segment that we wanted to get into, I'm totally off track here. Sorry. We decided to call it the Gyllenhaal of Fame, mainly just for the play on words. And that's pretty much it. But what we're going to talk about is basically a one person recast. If you can swap out one of the actors in Scream for either of the Gyllenhaals, who are you putting in there and who are you taking out? Ashley.
I deeply love Henry Winkler. Tyler, you were right. He's every time you see him, it's warmth. It's warm and you feel it here. He's the best.
I almost feel like, speaking of being meta, I almost feel like Henry Winkler is like Hollywood's own meta joke. Like, let's put the Fonz in here and people will be like, hey, it's fucking Henry Winkler, you know, like it's the Fonz. Like, this movie is just so meta. Ashley, you need to learn what that word means.
Well, didn't the phrase "jump the shark" come from him? And
for sure,
days?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
he literally jumped a shark on water skis.
Yeah, I mean, he is meta in himself.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I would take him out and put Jake in. Mostly because I like the idea of a universe where we have Donnie Darko and Drew Barrymore is playing his teacher, and then this world where he could be
he's the principal
faculty member.
And I will say, there was a moment where I'm like, wait, is Henry Winkler the killer in this movie? I knew he wasn't, but I'm like, is he? Because he has that line where he's like, you deserve to be gutted like a fish and hung from a tree. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay, that's a weird thing to say to students. But if Gyllenhaal were that role, because I mean, I think we've all seen Nightcrawler. Like he that would have been a way better switch up or a way better what's the word, red herring or whatever. Like, oh shit, this guy might actually be the killer. I'd believe it was if it was Jake playing it. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I like it. I would I thought this movie was really well cast. So I actually had trouble because I'm like, I'll put Jake instead of this guy. I'm like, nah, but I liked him. Like, and I know that's not the point of this exercise. I know we're being
It's not
forced.
the exercise, Tyler. That's not the exercise.
So, but I did want to say, like, you know, I thought it was really well cast, and I don't know if I would change anything. My instinct was to replace either Billy or Stewart, but again, I was like, I thought Billy. I forget who played him right now. I know who it is. I'll pull it up. I'm still pulling it up. Here I am trying to pull it up.
Jamie Kennedy?
No, Skeet Ulrich. Sorry. Skeet Ulrich. I was like, he was pretty good at this. Like he was just heartthrobby enough to believe in like the whole like heartthrob love story, like him being like the hero. And he was also just creepy enough to be believable, like to cast some doubt on his character. Right. So I thought, and I think Jake would do a great job as that. And Stewart, like, his character was my least favorite. Like, it was a little over the top for me, but I like Matthew Lillard and it was silly and fun. So like, why change it up? So if I had to, I would swap Jake in as Billy, just because I think he could pull off that like charming and creepy threshold. Like the Vicky Mendoza diagonal from How I Met Your Mother, like creepy, handsome. Like he can play either side, you know?
I like how you describe, you know, Billy as kind of the charm or whatever, like teenage heartthrob, because I've heard some people compare Skeet Ulrich to Cole Sprouse, who you may know from Riverdale. So
you might. I personally
heard that somewhere. I don't remember where, but I will check my sources.
Really smart.
But yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Super smart person, but they drew the
I've heard that too.
Yeah. I don't remember we probably heard it at the same time. I don't remember from who though.
I think I read it somewhere.
Yeah, that's probably what it was.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think it was on a podcast, a really good podcast that you should all like and subscribe to.
All like and subscribe. My swap out, it's also with Billy, but I'm curious what it's like if it's Maggie in that role. Because I mean, their reasoning of like killing her mom and stuff like that, I guess not that it makes sense, but like when it's two dudes who are just like, oh, they call her like a slut or whore or something like that, right? Yeah. But like, what's the dynamic?
She slept with Billy's dad.
She flashed her shit all over town.
That was the reason that Billy's mom left.
I'm curious what that's like if the main source behind that is a girl, if it's Maggie instead of like. And
so in this scenario, are Maggie and Neve in a relationship together? Because given the time, that's also more interesting for the relationship like that to be on the silver screen in 96 or whenever this came out.
Yeah, dude, it's 2017. It's the future. We're here. Let's let them be together. Yeah.
Wait, did you just say it's 2017?
Yes. I was joking.
I kind of had a moment. I'm like, wait, what year is it? I was like, I'm pretty sure we're
I thought it was
into the next decade.
That, like, you guys had.
Like,
I was like,
I don't know. Just that'd be funny. Say the wrong.
I'm not gonna
year.
lie, you like I kind of I had a brain freeze for a second. Like, wait,
like
I'm
we
not
all
sure,
went through
like,
the blip together. We just like totally missed the last 4 years. Wait, it's 2017, right? What's going on? Yeah, Matt, who are you swapping out?
So I was going back and forth on this. I mean, I think I would take out Randy and I would throw in Jake, because I love imagining Jake in the video store, like talking to Stuart. And I really love Jake doing the horror monologue in front of the TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great spot for him.
Jesus Christ, you don't know the rules?
Have an aneurysm, why don't you?
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
Jake, if you're listening, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Or
we named a
Maggie.
whole
It might be more interesting
segment.
if Maggie subscribes, you know? Who knows?
Way more interesting if Maggie subscribes.
Yeah,
it would be really fun if only Jake subscribed and then we refused to mention him. We just only talk about Maggie.
Our second favorite Gyllenhaal. Thank you for being a patron. Still waiting on Maggie though.
We couldn't get Maggie, so we settled with Jake.
We'll take what we can get.
Do you have any siblings we can talk to? I don't like whoever. What are you swapping yours out?
well, I mean, I guess it was the mention of Nightcrawler, but I could see Jake also as a Gale Weathers.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool. I like
Slimy
that.
tabloid reporter.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of this, can we do a sidebar?
No.
They are very derogatory towards Gale Weathers. And
Who's they by
well, she talks about how she's, has a slimy TV reporter ever won the Pulitzer, and she's self-deprecating.
mm-hmm.
So, and like, there's just like this attitude that she is like a bottom feeder.
She did there were moments where she like crossed the line as a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in fact, most of the time she's on screen, she's crossing the line as a journalist. She hides a camera in their house and she goes into, abuses her relationship with the police to get into the party and stuff. So it's like,
or you could say like she's just good at her job.
I mean, I guess it depends on how much of your own civil liberties you're willing to give up to defend a journalist.
This is getting contentious.
Because I know what you're saying, but
Civil War.
I felt like it was pretty well established that she was like, I will say she is willing to go to whatever extreme to get the true story. She did get the real story.
Yeah.
So, but at what cost? You know what I mean?
Well, my question was, who do we think that she was like modeled after? Is she supposed to be a Jenny Jones? Like a hard copy inside edition sort of vibe, or is it like, I don't know, the Nancy Grace of her time?
I feel like it was someone who was shooting for like Inside Edition kind of stuff. Like all this was like she was treating as her demo reel to send in. Like I was doing real stuff in the small town. Like give me the chance. But yeah, maybe it was coming across more like whatever that version of TMZ or whatever was. Like let me get the
TMZ is a good one for sure.
Like let me get all the I want to be there, whatever.
Today on CMC.
He released his record with a dishwashing company.
They did this big launch and it was all wireless or something. I don't know, but it came out of every appliance in my house. And I was just like, I hate Connor for real.
For real.
And it's interesting too, because like, it seems nowadays that sort of behavior is not that it's okay, but it's almost more like not accepted, but just normal. Yeah, expected. For a journalist to have any sort of restraint and to not act that way is now sort of like, I guess you could argue that it's not the norm anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, because you could see it in all the scenes where she would like push through the rest of the journalists. They'd be like, hey, where's she going? And she barges right in. No one follows her because, you know, that's the rules and she's breaking the rules. And so like whether or not you think that's a good thing is not for me to decide, but I think like it is movies like watching movies like this is pretty interesting to see, like, you know, there's a snapshot of their time in a lot of ways. And so, I think, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
ethics in journalism in 1996.
I can't decide if I agree with you or disagree with you, Ashley.
I mean, she got the story.
Of course.
She's tenacious. Here's
she
the
saved
thing.
the day.
Like when she's talking to David Arquette, Dewey, he just offers all of this information and she barely had to try.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's outside of just like hiding a camera. Like she can talk to people. I don't know. I think she's
relentless and
she's back for the sequel.
Yep.
True. All five of them, right?
She is very good at her job, but maybe she's just a little too good. She should be a detective. She should be one of the cops, you know?
Ooh, has someone seen the sequels?
Oh,
wait, is that what happens?
Well, she doesn't become like a real cop, but she works alongside them.
Oh, rad.
So you get her expertise.
Good cop,
consultant,
or bad cop, bone cop.
Yeah, exactly.